What's up YouTube, Capital G here, looking at a brand new card from Card of the Duelist called Smile Universe, and this is a very interesting card. If I had to take a wild guess, I'd probably say that this was a Yuya card because he's known for playing Smile World on the anime, and at first I looked at this card and I thought, wow, this is literally one of the worst cards ever created, and it's odd because it's a card that lets you summon as many as possible, and you guys know historically, cards that say summon as many as possible tend to be completely broken in Yu-Gi-Oh, especially the more generic they are. Look at cards like Soul Charge, Rekindling, Return from a Different Dimension, Dimension Fusion. Usually those cards end up on the Forbidden and Limited list. I don't think that's going to happen with Smile Universe, but I don't know. It's an interesting card because on one side, I see this card as kind of pointless and it has so many damn drawbacks. I look at it and I'm just like, how do you exploit this card? But then I do actually see one application, and I'll talk about it in a second. So it says special summon as many face-up pendulum monsters from your extra deck as possible, but they have their effects negated, if any. Then your opponent gains life points equal to the combined attack of these summoned monsters. You cannot normal or special summon other monsters, and the monsters you control cannot attack during the turn that you activate this effect. So obviously there is a high ceiling for this card being able to summon 5 monsters, but you can't really do shit with them monsters. The monsters cannot attack, they can't activate their effects, you can't tribute them for anything, you can't link with them, you can't synchro fusion because you don't get any other types of summons. This basically is your entire summon for the turn, and when I kind of looked at it that way, I was like, this card is fucking trash. I mean, yeah, it gives you some, monsters, I guess, to block a bunch of damage. That would probably be the best application, but your opponent is going to get 1,000,000,000 life points, and if they would have taken any of the restrictions off, this card could have been broken. Like, if the monsters got to activate their effects, this card would have been ridiculous in MegaCapitalG, because think about it, MegaCapitalG, you activate your Smile Universe, you summon 5 monsters. The amount of life points your opponent gets is irrelevant. You're going to get 5 monsters. A lot of the MegaCapitalG are +1s, and you could basically get like 8 or 9 cards off of 1 card. Or if you could just have the monsters attack, a deck like Dynamist, like that could have been really good because most of the effects in Dynamist suck, but everything compiled together makes this card not so good until I noticed that it was a quick play. And then I thought, well, if I do this during the end phase of my opponent's turn, we might fucking have something there, because even if your pendulum monsters can attack and they have all of those drawbacks, if you're playing a deck like Dynamist, summoning 5 monsters during your opponent's end phase, that's fucking legitimate. And even if they do get, I don't know, maybe they get 8,000 life, like who cares? You know how much damage you can do if you have 5 monsters on the board, especially if you happen to have like the field spell, the one that turns your Dynamist into like Armades, and you have the protection of the pendulum scales that make it so that if your Dynamist monsters are targeted, it doesn't really matter. You just give up one of your scales, and if you have the I think it's Dynamist Charge, you can just bounce the scale back to your hand and replay it. So I don't know, I do feel like this card has 2 practical applications. I think number 1, it sets up for a really big play if you use it during your opponent's turn. Like if you use it during the end phase, I could see you doing a lot of damage to them during your next turn, even though they will gain a lot of life points. I don't really think life points matters that much in Yu-Gi-Oh! And number 2, I guess this can be a decent card to defend yourself. Like if your opponent is going to attack you for game and you summon 5 monsters from your extra deck and you don't even have to have pendulum scales, that's not really that bad, even though they won't be able to, or you probably won't be able to kill them during the next turn because you've given them so many life points. You can easily during your turn switch all of those to attack mode, just completely clean them out, and then you have like huge board presence. So I don't know, I actually, it's an interesting card because I think I changed my opinion on this card the second that I realized it was a quick play. I originally thought that it was a normal spell, and I was like, yeah, this card is complete ass, like one of the worst cards ever. But looking at it as a quick play, I think that it does have some good applications, but mainly if you use it during your opponent's turn. So you guys let me know what you think of Smile Universe. Not a card you'll see in a lot of decks. I think that it probably, if I just had to pick one deck off the top that it would work best in, probably Dynamist and then maybe Cleafort. I think those would be the main 2 decks that I would actually like this card in the most, especially Cleafort, because Cleafort are known to kind of like stack up their monsters and their extra deck because they tribute summon, and if you use this card, it doesn't conflict with the Cleafort scales, where those scales say you can only special summon Cleafort monsters, so there's really no conflict of interest there. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching as always, and subscribe if you have not already.